right, welcome in here. Happy Tuesday, Customer Appreciation Day over at WagerTalk.com. Best bets are $5. We'll tell you all about it. No Prez today. He had to get some sort of rectal exam or oral exam. What the hell's the difference? So you got Art, DiCesare, and I here with you, and we'll, of course, run down the board for you, let you know everything you need to know about what is happening in the world of sports on this 12th of May, Art. And, of course, we'll start where we usually do on a Tuesday. How did the books do this weekend? It was a big weekend. Had a lot going on. Strickland, upset win. UFC, kind of crazy. You had a lot happening, man. How did the books do overall?
Yeah, a lot happening. Honestly, Joe, that UFC card on Saturday was not kind to us. There were a lot of underdogs, a lot of just things that didn't go our way. A lot of the sharps, that come in and bet the UFC with us, who we normally book to, their sides did not come through. And listen, that's going to happen. If you're going to take sharp information that you respect and you're going to book to those sides, they don't always come through. They're not 100% winners. We all know that. So that can happen. If you just go to last night was good. It was positive. We got back to our winning ways with the Dodgers losing, the Yankees losing, getting the Lakers out of there was good. I had mentioned to you before we came on air, it stinks having to book these 15, 16, 17 point games every night. So it's nice to get the Lakers out of there. And, it should set up for a good Western Conference final and also a good Eastern Conference final when we get there too. So the NBA will really ramp up here. Also too, you'll start to expand limits. Obviously NBA finals is a totally different thing, but, once we get to this conference final, we'll start to extend limits as well.
Well, it's getting to be that time of year, Art. We're that much closer here to getting to, crowning champions here, both Stanley Cup and NBA, but we got a lot of stuff happening in between. You mentioned Major League Baseball, a lot of great series getting ready to start here today. Let's dive into some of these best bets here, the sharp bets that you are starting to see across the board. And let's start with Minnesota and San Antonio, Art, because boy, oh boy, San Antonio gifted a non-suspension for Webayama, because who are we kidding, Art? That was about as intentional as it gets, that elbow. There was nothing, oops, sorry, I didn't see, purposely going headhunting there, but no suspension. And we find ourselves 2-2 heading into this game tonight. Where did you start? Did you see money holding off and to find out whether or not Wemby was going to be suspended? What's the trajectory been on this?
Well, that's always how it's got to be, right? And obviously these games are, a couple of days apart, but when you have a suspension that could be sitting out there, of course people aren't going to want to come in and bet. Now, there are always those people who want to speculate and say, hey, let me just jump in now because maybe the suspension happens. And then even to people who do that, maybe they just buy out of their bet. So that does happen. But, we've been pretty steady now with Spurs -10, total of 218.5. I think the one thing people are trying to take a chance on is Minnesota on the money line. Obviously Minnesota has won 2 games in this series. Ant was coming into this series kind of hobbled, but I think Minnesota has shown that they are a legit team and can hang with the Spurs a little bit, even though the Spurs are still a big favorite to win the series over $4, and people expect them to move on and take on OKC. But yeah, I would say the total really hasn't done much. 218, 218.5, 219, kind of going back and forth between those numbers. But I would say we'll probably need the Spurs outright, despite them being in all the money line parlays, because of the people taking chances with Minnesota on money line bets.
It's interesting, Art, because, outside of game one, every one of these games has landed over. We've had a lot of points here, and we're starting to see now this one opened up 218.5. Now we're starting to see, 219s. That might have even been lower at 217.5 in some spots. So we're starting to see that over money come into this here, and it's kind of hard not to look at the over, right? What we expected such a defensive battle, but what we've gotten is games in the 220s, a lot more so than under that, no?
Yeah, no doubt about it. You mentioned we've played 4 games, all of them gone over, and you normally think in the NBA finals or, the NBA playoffs, a little bit more defensive minded in some of these games. Both teams too are pretty good defensively. They have inside presence in, Rudy and Wemby. So guys who can block shots. I mean, I think you're going to reach a point here where this game feels like the swing game. It's 2-2. Now, obviously the home team, they've been winning every game for the most part. Except for Minnesota. Actually, they took game one. So, it's just one of those things. I think this would probably be the game to bet under. I think if you get to a point of 219, 219 and a half, I actually would look under. I think eventually one of these games has got to go under.
One of them has got to go under. De'Aaron Fox still listed as questionable. That's the other big thing right now. I am starting to see 9.5s pop up here, Art. I think you are one of them, in fact, but it looks like you've been bouncing back and forth from 10, 10.5, 9.5, 10, back to 9.5. So it's just going back and forth here, it appears like, in a number of different books.
Yeah, no doubt. Like I said, it's pretty, there's really nothing sidewise. Like, if you bounce back and forth to half a point here, half a point there, that's kind of maybe just playing with the market. Even sometimes seeing, too, what's the best number to book at. Hey, if we have 9.5, are they going to flood us with the Spurs? If we have 10.5, are they going to flood us with Minnesota? Sometimes you're looking for a little bit of what we like to call, just price discovery, like where is going to be the number that you're actually going to see the bets come in, and then you can kind of start to shape your number and book that way. So obviously when you're messing around half a point here, half a point there, that's what you're trying to do.
Yeah, and that's kind of what's happening in a lot of spots here right now. So, but the total seems to still be creeping up. Wonder if we'll get to 220 before it's all said and done. All right, so NBA out of the way. Let's talk some NHL because, well, boy, we saw Colorado kind of impose their will last night against Minnesota. So much for those happy feelings there for the Wild fans. Not so much anymore. I don't know. Is Buffalo going to be feeling the same thing, but Sabre fans tomorrow there? Is Montreal taking a commanding 3-1 lead? And how about Vegas? Can they get back on track here and take a big lead here against Anaheim? Lot to be determined here in these two games tonight. What are you seeing?
Yeah, they're really big games. I would say on the sides, they're actually pretty good two-way on both of the games. I would say the one that we've taken a little bit of sharp money on is the Canadian Sabres over. A little bit of sharp money there. Just moved 5 cents, from -120 to -125. So we've seen over money come in there. We always mention how the Knights are going to be popular with the public. The locals are going to come in and bet their Golden Knights. I think the one thing Anaheim has shown is that they can play in this series. They can be competitive in this series, and they can even win the series. Or I think a lot of people initially were like, oh, this feels like a 5-game series. This isn't going to be Edmonton. The Ducks are actually going to have to play a team that plays defense. But, the Ducks have been able to play their type of style, go up and down, put a lot of goals on the board here the last couple of nights. I think eventually we'll see over money coming on this game as well, because after the first couple of games, I think the tempo has kind of been established in that series to be an over series. So, the NHL is tough because once you put up these lines, they're really tight. 10-cent lines, you see really good two-way action either way.
So I'm wondering, though, Art, because I saw a lot of 6.5s at the open. You guys over at the West Coast, I'm seeing a lot of 6s here with just a slight bit of juice to the over. It's interesting that you'd give the 6 here and not keep it at 6.5. So am I to believe that we're getting a lot more under money we're thinking in these games here tonight?
Well, not necessarily in the Canadians. For us, we have taken Canadian over money. Now, it's weird going to 6.5. If you're at 6 over 20, over 25, then you go to 6.5, then you're instantly at 6.5, under a quarter, under 30. So sometimes you really don't even want to move that half and get to the 6.5 if you feel comfortable. Now, listen, if you just get overwhelmed and there's nothing but money coming in on that over, you just have to do it. But we don't mind booking at that 6, making you pay the juice of 20 or 25, depending on what it is. We've talked over the last couple of weeks where you kind of get to a spot with some of these totals where you don't want to get weird and book it at 6 over 50. You don't want to do that. At that point, eventually you would have to move. So it's just kind of just seeing what's going on. Who are the bets coming from? Are they more public? Are they more respected accounts? So it's just kind of feeling that type of stuff out.
All right, let's talk Major League Baseball before we get to the WNBA here. Skeens on the mound. Boy, that one sticks out like a sore thumb here against Colorado at home. But I'm looking forward to this Cubs and Atlanta series, too. That's beginning tonight in Atlanta. Atlanta finally home after a long West Coast trip there. But what are we thinking here tonight? What are your sharp players? What home teams are they laying the 1.5 with here?
The two sharp bets that we've taken overnight or this morning are actually on the Reds and the Cubs. And you had mentioned this Cub-Brave game. Obviously, the Braves are coming home after the long West Coast trip. People are figuring, hey, the Braves are just coming home. They got to get their feet under them. Let's take those red-hot Cubs at a little bit of a plus price. Obviously, the two best teams right now in the National League are the Cubs and the Braves, so that will be a great series.
All right, so we got some Major League. Please, I'm still... Turn on the game. I got a no-hitter going yesterday with the Yankees through 5-6 innings, right? I made the mistake of turning it on right when they started the 7th inning and then watched it all fall apart for the Yankees and give up a 3-run homer to their bullpen. And then outside of Ben, there's nobody that can hit on the Yankees right now. It's absolutely, they made Young look like he's a Cy Young Award winner. The guy is a total gas can. It's beyond me. But the Yankees, that's it. Couldn't get anything done. It's kind of shocking to me that they lose to Baltimore in that fashion. But I guess the Yankees are kind of a no bet right now, or even the Dodgers. I mean, last night losing to the Giants, you had said it. Does it matter? Are the public still going to be betting the Yankees and Dodgers? No problem.
The public's going to bet them in their parlays, but I mean, how can you lay the prices on those teams?
No,
you just can't. And we've talked. It's hard to lay the 1.5 most of the time, and I think the sharps look for other teams to go bet. They just do. I mean, we mentioned this a week ago. Tampa never loses.
Yep.
They never lose. So they're going to look to find teams like that. The Cubs who have been hot. Obviously the Phillies have been hot now, even though you're paying prices with the Phillies, but now they're starting to come back on the Phillies. Like, oh, look at this. So, it happens that way. And then there's always teams you're going to fade. You're going to fade Houston. You're going to find a couple of those other bottom-feeding teams that you could fade throughout the year. So that's the way the sharps attack it. But listen, throughout the baseball season, moneyline parlays that feature MLB games and MLB teams are always going to be dominated by the Yankees and Dodgers, no matter how they're playing.
I agree. And they're going to keep coming in. You just got to pick your spots. Because right now the Yankees and the Dodgers are going through it there. All right, you mentioned WNBA here. Are 3 games on the slate here today. What are we seeing, and how's the action been so far?
Action's been good. It's been steady. I always talk about the WNBA as being one of the sharp markets that we book. And from day one, the sharp WNBA people, they're there day one, and they're betting it throughout. Out of the 3 games today, 2 of them, we've seen some sharp action. They laid 12 with the Liberty, now up to 13. And this one was surprising because it's been nothing really but overs so far in the WNBA season. I think like 10 of the 12 or 10 of the 13 games have already gone over, but they took the Mercury under 171.5. It's now under 170. So you've seen a 1.5 move there to the under in the Mercury game.
All right, seeing a little WNBA action, a little something for everybody here tonight, Art. That is for sure. We, as a matter of fact, you mentioned that Tampa team there who refuses to lose. They were part of my parlay of the day yesterday. That was my pick, and I got to tell you, it's really hard for me not to want to go back with them here with McCallahan on the board, on the mound rather here tonight against Toronto. Against Patrick Corbin of all things, but it feels like I'm being set up looking at it that way. But what about it, man? Parlay of the day. Where are you thinking we should look here on the board for this one?
I have a future on Buffalo to win the East, but I think Montreal has been the better team. And over the first 3 games, they've shown they've been the better team. I think they're going to put a stranglehold on this series. I'm laying 135 with the Canadians. I think they win tonight.
Ooh, going with the Canadians here tonight. I kind of like it. I don't know. I mean, I'm probably going to regret this, but I think the Mets are going to get it done at home against Detroit, at least in the first 5, which is likely where I'm going to take them here because Flaherty can't get anybody out. He walks too many guys. And yes, he's got swing and miss potential, but when they don't swing and miss and they make contact, it's of the hard sort of contact. So not a good situation here. And I think Freddie Peralta, he just can't get any run support. Hopefully he gets some here tonight with the Mets starting a home trip. So I'll take them in the first 5 there, Art. All right, we got some predictive market stuff you and I were talking about before the show because we're getting to that point where, now's the time to start looking at maybe hedging or giving yourself a few other opportunities in the futures markets on some of these plays in the playoffs. And we'll start, we were looking, let's just go with what we saw last night, right? We saw Cleveland offensively get it done again. Donovan Mitchell was a monster in the second half. The problem with Detroit, once again, is they get outshot 24-0 run to start to third was all she wrote. But that's the problem with Detroit because you can't trust them offensively. So I don't know that I can trust either team to win a game on the road. But boy, oh boy, 57 cents right now for Detroit. Cleveland at 44. Detroit old serve, come back to Cleveland. It feels like this is going 7 one way or the other, Art, no?
It totally feels that way, Joe. And obviously, we have Detroit right now minus 130 to win the series. Take back on Cleveland is plus 110. Yep. But I think the thing that you and I looked at and we felt was even more interesting is, you could bet both or just pick the team you think is going to win this series.
Yep.
And maybe bet them to win the East.
Yep.
The numbers have become crazy. Like we're dealing right now, Knicks minus 185. And then you got Cleveland at plus 310. Cleveland at 550. And then you got Detroit at plus 310. If you just look at the Knicks playing either of those teams, even crazy. Detroit, who is the 1 seed, will have home court. The Knicks aren't almost a $4 favorite in that series.
Look at that.
Right now to get Detroit at plus 310 to win the East, I get that the Knicks will be favored, and they probably should be, but they're not going to have home court. They're going to have over a week of layoff because the earliest they could play is Sunday. And They just finished Sunday, and this thing looks like it's going 7, so I don't know. Maybe that series starts Tuesday? I don't know. I think now you take a shot on one of these Eastern Conference teams that's not the Knicks.
I got to tell you, Art, I'm looking at that no at 37 cents, and I'm going, you know what? That's not a bad look because what's going to happen when the Knicks lose a game? Or I don't care who they're playing, Detroit or Cleveland. Yeah. They're not sweeping anybody. But It feels like this is so overpriced. And you brought it up, right? If Detroit wins this series against Cleveland, Detroit's the 1 seed. Detroit is home court.
Yeah.
Make no mistake about it, which, by the way, they have given New York fits all year long. So I don't know. I might, this is the no market side for me. I might look at the Knicks right now with the no and let it play out here a little bit and see what goes on because I think that's going to be a pretty volatile. There's no way the Knicks are going to go in as a 70-cent favorite over either of those two teams. I don't see it there. So I think there's some opportunities. I'm with you in that market. I also think the NHL, what are we doing, Art? Your Vegas Knights, are we jumping on them here? Is now the time to get involved with the Knights at, 59 cents to win the series? Or do we think Anaheim at 40 cents? Anaheim wins this game? Ooh, boy. Boy, that's going to flip, isn't it?
Yeah, no doubt. Joe, it's great. We've always talked about this kind of times, hey, you wait, or when do you get in on a team series-wise? We're dealing with the Knights right now, minus 155 to win the series. When that series closed, when they dropped the puck for game 1, that was, I want to say we closed 210. We had opened the Knights minus 180, which we all felt was low, and then it came all the way up to 210 at puck drop of game 1. Now, obviously, this is the best out of 3, but the Knights will have two of those 3 games at home. If you like the Knights, this is the time to bet them in the series. This is the cheapest they're gonna be because of what we've seen in the first 4 games. I don't know. Do you want to do the similar thing like we just talked about in the East? Maybe you take the Knights now to win the West, and then you could hedge a little bit out because I don't think they're going to beat Colorado, who Obviously, he has to win more and more game to get to the Western Conference Finals. But Colorado just looks like a juggernaut right now who's going to make the Stanley Cup.
Well, I'll tell you, looking at this chart, I mean, here, Art, you can see they went into this series, right? I mean, look at them at about a 67. I mean, they were as high as 70% here in this series, right? So it was basically a 70-30 split. Then all of a sudden, Anaheim goes home, wins a couple of games, right? Now, all of a sudden, look at us here, Art. I mean, here we go. Now it's 2-2. So my point is, if I think Anaheim is winning tonight, not only am I playing Anaheim, but I'm playing them in this market because they'll go from 41 to 61. They'll flip. They'll have to flip. It'll have to be repriced.
100%.
Where Anaheim has got to be the 60 cent. You might still think Vegas but that's a 20-cent move in 24 hours. So, here's where the predictive markets come in. I don't want to hold on. I don't give a crap if Anaheim wins I just care if I'm betting them tonight. I'm betting them right here, Art, as well for 41 cents because by the time I wake up tomorrow, I'll cash the money line and I will absolutely cash out at 60% in a heartbeat. They might even pull it off if they win tonight, but I wouldn't discount it by any chance. I wouldn't discount it.
No, I wouldn't either. And Game 6 will be kind of what we've seen priced in these Anaheim series. They're basically pick'ems. If you look at the games that have been in Anaheim, Vegas has been a slight favorite where the games are pick 'em, depending on which book you're looking at. Usually Vegas is the -1.5 on the goal line. But like I said, they're pretty much priced at, -105, -108, -110. So they're usually in that range. But you're right. You take Anaheim tonight, not only in the predictive, but take them in the game at plus money. By tomorrow morning, you cash out your predictive, you've won 2 bets.
That's correct. Boom, made a quick 20% in 24 hours, and you already cashed the money line too as well, which is fantastic. All right, this is just head-scratching. Like, good Lord. Oklahoma City to win the Western Conference Championships almost at 75 cents. This market is almost telling us, don't even bother. It's Oklahoma. Whether they play San Antonio or Minnesota, I'm not buying that, man. They can't beat San Antonio. They haven't beaten San Antonio consistently all year long. So, that is embarrassing, the Minnesota line right there, that Minnesota can't. My question is, Art, if Minnesota wins tonight, I don't know, does that reprice get a little higher there from 3 cents to, can we get it to 13 cents if they take down San Antonio tonight? Because, again, I'm not interested in actually seeing this through. I'm just interested in it repricing, not actually trying to figure out if Minnesota's going to win the Western Conference. I don't care.
No, and we had talked about this, for us, Thunder are -300 to win the West. That's -$3. Every $3 you bet, you win $1. If you take the Spurs, they're +260, and we're 38-1 on Minnesota to win the West. And I mentioned you the reason that is we're pretty flooded money-wise to the Spurs to win the West. Thunder really not so much because they were low all year. We're trying to sell a little bit of the Spur liability off with giving you a chance to almost get 40-1.
Wow.
On Minnesota to win the West. That just shows you the dominance of OKC, and people will come in and try to take shots on that because also they'll try to hedge their position a little bit. There are going to be plenty of people with the Spurs positions that they got earlier in the year that they got really good numbers on. There might even be people who have Thunder positions where they got them to win the West at +110 or +120 when it was at its peak and its highest. But I think the only way to go in that market is Minnesota. That's the only shot you could take.
That's it. Listen, even if they zigzag their way, get it to a Game 7, you're going to get more than the 3 cents than you are right now. My goodness. And it's amazing the lack of respect in a 2-2 series they're getting. But I got news for you. I'm still betting San Antonio 25 cents too, because I'm not convinced that the split there, they're just going to run through San Antonio if it's them either, Art. I'm not buying it. So I still think there's some value on the dogs here. And maybe, Art, dare I say, maybe do a little fade here of the OKC, a little no action on OKC winning the Western Conference here.
It's not a terrible look if that's the way you're going to play it. Obviously there are people who are going to look at OKC and say, Wow, they're minus $3 to win the West, but you also have to look at it depending on who they get. Now, I get it. If they get the Spurs, it might be around that number because I really think OKC is going to be priced pretty heavily in their matchup, no matter who it is. But I will say this: if it is San Antonio, because of the success San Antonio had in the regular season, people are going to be running to bet San Antonio.
I agree. Yep.
They're just gonna, and I think eventually you might even get OKC cheaper than you would have. Like wait till the series price comes out, see what happens. And then I think that's actually going to get pushed down because I think you're going to see people run and say, well, I don't want to lay $3 or more with OKC. I'm going to take the plus money with the Spurs, who have been very positive in their play against OKC this year. And I think that's what's going to happen.
I think so too. I'm with you. I think there's some opportunities here in that market for sure here, Art. And there you go. We've got predictive markets for you. We've got still Major League Baseball, NHL. Art told you all about those. We got the NBA with one game here tonight. What else you got going on there, Art, over at the Westgate? And what are you looking forward to this week, man? What's the game of the night for you?
Oh, I'm definitely, listen, I love the NBA, but I think the hockey is enormous tonight. These two games are so big. Like I said, does Montreal really put a stranglehold on this series and look to, be one game away from playing Carolina in the conference final? The Knights, this is an enormous game. This is a team who was heavily favored to win the series against Anaheim. Now they come home 2-2 in pretty much a must-win spot for them, it feels like. So I'm very excited to watch these awesome hockey games tonight. And I think that Braves Cubs series is a fun, maybe NLCS preview.
There you got it. And all right, Art DiCesare, we'll see you again tomorrow, depending on how the Prez's rectal exam went. He might take whatever he can get. So we'll see what happens there. But we'll see you tomorrow for sure, Art. Enjoy it, man. We certainly do appreciate it. Guys, make sure you hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Become part of the WagerTalk TV family as we get ready for a little business. All right, it is Customer Appreciation Day here, after all, at WagerTalk.com, which means, of course, $5 best bets. What does that mean? Well, it means that right now I got a 4% top play here in the NBA tonight in this game between the Spurs and Minnesota, the all-important Game 5. You can head over to my page at WagerTalk.com. It's $5, guys. Go grab it. We have crushed the last week here in the postseason. 3-0 right now, up over 12 units since Saturday. Yes, we have got our finger on the pulse of what's happening here. So for $5, you can go grab that play over at WagerTalk.com. I will also have a $5 Major League Baseball top play that I am posting as soon as we're done here. Grab that for $5. Or the Prez also has one of his NBA top plays available for $5. It's customer appreciation, guys. It's a great opportunity to take advantage and partner up with one of your favorite handicappers here at WagerTalk.com. Now, in the meantime, we've got some games that we have got to go over here, and we'll start in Major League Baseball, where, all right, a couple of games where we've got some big pitching advantages here. And maybe none bigger than the Pittsburgh Pirates at home. Paul Skeens taking on Lorenzen and the Rockies. Listen, nobody in their right mind is laying this kind of number here with Skeens. And not necessarily on Skeens, but on Pittsburgh, nobody's laying $3. Stop it. I would look at the first 5, or I would look at maybe a team total for Pittsburgh, and that is it. Seattle taking on Houston today. The Mariners bounced back yesterday. That was a client play for us. They got it done against Houston in a 3-1 win. Brian Woo is on the mound here, as he is, I think, maybe the more trustworthy pitcher in this spot here. But you've got to trust the bats, who are not exactly swinging it all that well for Seattle. But I think they can get it done again. And by the way, so does the market. But I don't know that I trust either bullpen all that much. Seattle's gotten worked. Maybe just the Seattle first 5. Dodgers taking on San Francisco. Big pitching mismatch here, too. Yamamoto taking on Hauser of the Giants, but the Dodgers can't seem to hit right now. Don't think that's going to matter. Another one of these where I'd look early, maybe first 5 with the Dodgers, and then move on because neither bullpen do I trust at this moment. Chicago, Atlanta, game of the day. I kind of like the Cubs here. And you heard Art say, so does the market. I think the Cubs are coming in full of confidence. I think they can get it done. I think the Phillies are a pretty good price with Wheeler on the mound here. Much better than Bayo, who always gets into trouble early. I think the White Sox might be live here against Kansas City tonight. I think Milwaukee should be able to handle business against the Padres. And I think the Angels should handle business against the Guardians. You had Art go over the NHL for you. And then, of course, in the NBA, it is simple. We have got a $5 best bet, which breaks down this entire game for you guys over at WagerTalk.com. Hop onto my page, go grab that, and you will have everything you need to know about tonight's game between the Spurs and the Timberwolves. And that'll do it here today for Wager Talks, the best betting show ever. Again, hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, become part of the Wager Talk TV family. Prez should be back tomorrow, we hope, we think, depending on how it went today. But either way, Art will be here, I'll be here. We'll run down everything you need to know coming up here over the next few days. A lot of stuff happening here, not to mention the next major on the PGA Tour, the PGA Championship, going to take center stage. We'll have you covered with everything. That is why it's important to come back and join us again for another edition of the best betting show ever. Enjoy it, guys. We'll see you again tomorrow.